As the office manager, I was the first one in and the last one out. When $200,000 vanished from the company's charity reserve fund, the digital trail led straight to my login credentials. My boss, a man I'd considered a mentor, stared at me with disgust. "How could you?" The police were called. My reputation was shredded. Facing charges with a public defender who thought I was guilty, I had one lifeline, a forgotten habit of writing everything down in a paper planner. My meticulous notes didn't just prove my innocence. They unveiled a conspiracy that brought down the entire C-suite. Hello. Welcome to Hurt Stories. There is a particular sound your life makes when it shatters. It's not a crash. It's a hiss. The sound of all the air, all the certainty, being sucked out of the room. For me, that sound was the click of the handcuffs around my wrists in my own cubicle, under the fluorescent lights of the office where I'd worked for 12 loyal years. My name is Miriam Chen, and for 6 months I was known in my community as the woman who stole from sick children. I was the office manager at Veritas Technologies, a mid-sized firm with a proud philanthropic arm. The Hope Fund was our pride and joy, money earmarked for children's hospitals. I handled the administrative side, reconciling donations, cutting checks. I was trusted. I was the reliable one, the one who remembered everyone's birthdays, who knew where every file lived. My boss, Richard, the CFO, called me his right hand. The discovery was made on a Monday. A quarterly audit showed a $200,000 discrepancy. The money was simply gone, wire transferred to an offshore account. The internal investigation was swift and brutal. The IT director, a nervous man named Greg, presented his findings to Richard and the CEO. The transfer was initiated from my computer terminal at 6:15 p.m. on a Tuesday evening when I was known to be working late. It was authenticated with my login and a correctly inputted, complex password only I was supposed to know. The security footage from the lobby showed me leaving at 6:30. The digital paper trail was perfect, and it pointed unequivocally at me. Richard called me into the glass-walled conference room. His face, usually warm with avuncular pride, was a mask of cold fury. "Miriam, the Hope Fund money, it's gone." He slid the forensic report toward me. "Explain this." My heart plummeted. I scanned the document. "Richard, I would never. This has to be a mistake." "The system says it was you," he said, his voice quiet and final. "Your login, your terminal, my God, Miriam, we trusted you. Those families trusted us." The word families was the knife twist. He had already tried and convicted me in his mind. I was placed on immediate suspension. The police arrived the next day. The arrest was humiliating, a public spectacle in the office parking lot. The local news ran the story. "Trusted employee accused of stealing charity funds." My photo was next to the words "alleged embezzlement." My neighbors looked away. My friends stopped calling. My daughter was bullied at school. The narrative was clean, simple, and damning. The quiet, unassuming woman with access had finally helped herself. The legal process was a waking nightmare. My public defender, a young man overwhelmed with cases, looked at the evidence and saw a slam dunk for the prosecution. He urged me to take a plea deal. "You're a first-time offender, a woman. You'll get a reduced sentence, maybe just a few years." The word years echoed in the hollow space where my future used to be. I refused. I would not admit to a crime I did not commit. In the depths of my despair, clinging to sanity, I returned to my oldest habit, organization. In a digital age, I was an analog soul. I kept a detailed paper planner, a beautiful leather-bound thing. Every meeting, every task, every conversation was logged in my tiny, precise handwriting. My lawyer dismissed it. "A notebook won't override server logs," he sighed. But I started to cross-reference. The night of the alleged transfer, my planner had an entry. 6:00 p.m. Review Q3 donor reports with Richard in his office. Bring updated files. I remembered that meeting. Richard had called me in urgently. He was frazzled, said he needed the donor figures for an early morning board call. We sat for 20 minutes. He asked me to pull up several files on his computer, saying his screen was bigger. I'd logged into the shared drive from his machine. A cold suspicion began to form. What if I hadn't been at my terminal at 6:15? What if someone else had been? I hired a private investigator with the last of my savings, a retired cop named Frank who had a skeptical eye. I gave him my planner. I need you to prove I was in Richard's office at that exact time. Frank was good. He couldn't get the office security footage from that night. The company claimed it had been automatically overwritten. But he looked elsewhere. He accessed the public traffic camera feed from the street outside our building. He found a time-stamped image of Richard's personal car leaving the company garage at 6:28 p.m., just 2 minutes before the lobby camera showed me leaving. If Richard left at 6:28 and I was supposedly at my terminal until 6:15, then our meeting had to have ended before that. But my planner said 6 p.m. The timeline was collapsing. Then Frank found the bombshell. He dug into Greg, the IT director. Greg had a gambling problem, deep in debt to the wrong people, and Richard had recently paid off a second mortgage on a vacation home in cash. We presented this to the district attorney. It was circumstantial, but it created reasonable doubt. The DA, under pressure, agreed to a deeper forensic audit. A new, independent tech firm was brought in. They discovered a keylogger had been installed on my workstation months prior. It had captured my password. The offshore account? It was traced not to me, but to a shell company, which was linked to another shell company, which was ultimately owned by Richard's brother-in-law. But the masterstroke, the piece of evidence that made it all undeniable, was also in my planner. Weeks before the theft, I'd noted, Richard asked for my system password for backup security protocols. Said new policy. Gave it to him. I'd written it down because I was annoyed at having to change my secure password to something he dictated. Richard hadn't just framed me. He'd engineered the entire crime from the start. He needed a fall guy for embezzling the charity funds to cover his own financial mismanagement and his brother-in-law's failing business. The quiet, reliable, trusted office manager was the perfect patsy. Greg, the indebted IT head, had provided the technical setup for a cut. The truth was explosive. It wasn't just a crime of greed. It was a conspiracy of betrayal that went to the top. The CEO had turned a blind eye, fearing the scandal. The board had been misled. The case against me was dismissed. The press conference where the DA announced the charges against Richard, Greg, and the CEO was a media frenzy. The story was no longer about a greedy employee, but about corporate corruption at the expense of a children's charity. The public outrage was immediate and fierce. But exoneration is not the same as healing. The not guilty verdict gave me back my freedom, but it couldn't give me back my 12 years, my reputation, or my naive trust in the world. I sued for wrongful termination and defamation. The settlement was substantial, but it was blood money, compensation for a soul-deep injury. I didn't go back to corporate life. I used the settlement to start my own small business, a professional organizing service for individuals and small companies. My pitch is simple. In a world of digital ghosts, let's create a paper trail of truth. I help people implement systems that are transparent, auditable, and human. My planner, the one that saved me, is framed in my office. I was blamed for a crime I didn't commit. The experience taught me that truth is often buried not in complex code, but in the simple, physical record of a life lived with intention. They had the servers, the firewalls, the digital logs. I had a pen, paper, and the stubborn habit of writing things down. In the end, my analog truth was louder than their digital lie. The explosion that followed didn't just clear my name. It illuminated the dark corners where real criminals hide, dressed in suits and smiles. My innocence was proven not by fighting the lie, but by meticulously revealing the architecture of the truth I had built, one handwritten note at a time. Thanks for listening. If you want to hear more story like this, please like the video and subscribe the channel. Hit the bell icon to get notified.